Number this morning simply because
Oh, I'm sorry.
this is Mother's Day, where we're honoring mothers and the women of our land. And I know probably people have plans set, so I thought we would save just a little bit of time. I had the meanest mother in the whole world. While other kids ate candy for breakfast, I had to have cereal, eggs, or toast. When other kids had Cokes and French fries for lunch, I had to eat a sandwich. As you might guess, my supper was different from theirs too, but at least I wasn't alone in my sufferings. My sister and my two brothers had the same mean mother as I did. My mother insisted upon knowing where we were at all times. You'd have thought we were on a chain gang. She had to know who our friends were and what we were doing. And if we said we'd be gone for an hour, she insisted that it not be an hour and 5 minutes. I am nearly ashamed to admit it, but she actually struck us. Not once, but each time we did as we pleased. And can you imagine hitting a child just because they were because he disobeyed? The worst is yet to come. We had to be in bed by 9 o'clock each night and up early the next morning. We couldn't sleep till noon, like our friends did. In fact, my mother broke the child labor law by making us work. We had to wash dishes, make beds, learn to cook, all sorts of exhausting jobs. I believe she laid awake at night thinking up mean things to do to us. She always insisted upon our telling the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, even if it killed us. And sometimes it nearly did.
Yeah.
By the times we were teenagers, our lives become even more unbearable. There was none of this tooting of the horn of a car for us to come out running. She embarrassed us to no end by making our dates and our friends come to the door to get us. I forgot to mention that while our friends were dating at 12 and 13, my old-fashioned mother refused to let us date until the age of 15 or 16 or even past. That is, if we dated only to go to school functions or church services. As you see, my mother was a complete failure. None of us have ever been arrested, divorced, beaten their mate. Each of my brothers served their time in the service of this country. Look at all the things we missed. We never got to march in a protest parade, nor take part in a riot, or burn draft cards. And 1,000,001 other things that our friends did. And whom have we to blame? That's right, our mean mother. She forced us to grow up into God-fearing, educated, honest adults. It is with this background that I have now become a mother. When my 3 children call me mean, I stand a little taller and am filled with pride. You see, I thank God for the meanest mother in the whole world. And I want to be just like her.
That means you wear a dress too?
You know, this is Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And I wonder, what would the church or any of us do without the women of this land? Women have always set the example. Where would the church be without women? We're going to look today at the example of 2 special women of Jerusalem. Women have always led in the service. The church would have let down much time ago if it were not for our ladies. I want to read from Matthew first one, Matthew, the 26th chapter, verses 6 through 12. Jesus now proceeded to Bethany, to the home of Simon the leper. While he was eating, a woman came in with a bottle of very expensive perfume and poured it all over his head. The disciples were indignant. What a waste of good money, they said. Why, she could have sold it for a fortune and given it to the poor. Jesus knew what they were thinking and said, why are you criticizing her? For she has done a very good thing to me. You will always have the poor among you, but you won't always have me. She has poured perfume on me to prepare my body for burial, and she will always be remembered for this deed. That's a nice story of a woman that came in. We read in another account she was a poor woman and brought this expensive ointment and anointed Jesus with it. Anointing with oil is to put on or rub on the body of someone. And this woman anointed Jesus with oil. And one of the last acts before the trial and the crucifixion. It took consecration by one who loved the Lord. Even though others did not understand the love and the care and the consecration, Jesus saw it as something that he would always remember. It takes a consecration to love the Lord. I truly believe that, and I believe in the world today there are not enough people in God's church that are consecrated to the point that they should be. For the church to survive, it takes consecration, it takes commitment, and it needs everyone to help. What can you do? What can I do? Well, one thing you can do is pray for the church. Every day, several times, I pray for the church. And if you pray sincerely for the church, it will cause you to put feet upon your prayers and to go out and actually work for the church. You can be there for anything that needs to be done. And I have underlined anything. You can be there for anything that needs to be done. At the church, in the church family, in any way. It is time consuming. And I think it's meant to be time consuming. What one does with their time is the acid test of their dedication. If God's looking upon you and he sees your work for him, he sees your love. And when he looks upon your lack of work and consecration and commitment, he sees your lack of love. How do you use your time? How much of your time is wasted? Well, we find time to go to a ball game, but can't find time for God's work. We find time for recreation while God's work goes undone. We find time for our working on our house while God's house becomes run down. Yesterday is done. Tomorrow is uncertain. Today is here. Use it. God needs your time. And it takes that 4-letter word work. sometimes hard and backbreaking work. I look at the life of Jesus and learn that he indeed was the example of hard work. You look at Jesus' life, his journeys, where he traveled, what he did. Jesus did hard, back-breaking work for us. The willingness of Jesus to give himself for us should compel us to give ourselves in service for him. I got to pause for a second because there was one thing I was going to do. Debbie and Joe have to leave maybe before we're done, and all the ladies are going to get flowers today. So if someone would take this to Debbie so she can leave with a flower if she has to leave early. I just thought of that. Didn't mean to interrupt everything.
Thank you.
Okay, now where was that? Oh, okay. Mothers lead in service. Women lead in service. I think on Mother's Day, I honor all of the women. Not just the mothers, but all of the women. In Luke, I have a great story that I like a lot. Luke 21, 1 through 4. As he stood in the temple, he was watching the rich tossing their gifts into the collection box. Then a poor widow came in and dropped in 2 small copper coins. Really, he remarked, this poor widow has given more than all of the rest of them combined, for they have given a little what they didn't need. But she, being poor as she is, has given everything that she had. In other accounts of this story in the Gospels, it emphasizes that every single thing she had, she put in that offering plate. She gave all that she had, 2 copper coins. That equals 1 denarius, which equals 16 cents. That's all she had, and she gave it to the Lord. Mark says, and it was all she had and all that she owned. We never get all of God until God gets all of us. I believe that. I believe when God gets all of us, we get all of God. What do you think she lived on the rest of the month? Nothing. Somehow. But she made the sacrifice beyond most sacrifice. You know, I really take it personal when I don't give of my all. I feel guilt and sadness and remorse when I don't give of my all. In every way. Have you given your all to Jesus? Have you put Jesus first in your life? Have you? Have you really put Jesus first in your life? Before everything else. First among money, your family, your work, your recreation. In all honesty, where is Jesus in your life? Is Jesus really first? Women from the time of Jesus have always been the very important part in the church. Let us all be workers in the Lord's work. The rewards are always so wonderful. I think oft times as the night draws nigh of an old house upon a hill, of a yard all wide and blossom scarred, where the children played at will. When the night at last had came down, hushing the merry din, mother would look around and ask, are all the children in? 'Tis many and many a year since then, and the old house on the hill no longer echoes to childish feet, and the yard is still, oh, so still. But I see it all as the shadows creep, and though many the years have been since then, I can hear my mother ask, are all the children in? And I wonder if when the shadows fall on that last short earthly day, when we say goodbye to the world outside, all tired with our childish play, when we step out into the other land, where mother so long has been, will we hear her ask, just as of old, are all the children